wiser feller than myself once said, sometimes you eat the turd sandwich, sometimes the turd sandwich, well, it eats you.
All right. So we're recording.
Yeah.
So
slurping down delicious turd sandwiches.
yes, delicious. I'm drinking some coffee. I almost put a whole, like, one of those fun-size Hershey's in it because I was like, man, that actually sounds kind of good. But then I was like, no. Don't want to be too fat.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. For listeners, we're recording this the day after Super Bowl Sunday, and yesterday was just a hog fest for me and my parents and my sister.
Yeah, same. Like my dad, he makes these maybe like twice a year, but we had some deer rolls, and I mean we had other stuff, but that's like the big ticket item for me. Like we had hamburgers, hot dogs, sausage, like a good cheese dip type thing that my mom makes all the time.
Yeah.
We had all that sort of stuff. Deer rolls is where I was at the whole time. Deer rolls as well as the cheese dip stuff. And man, like I woke up this morning, I don't drink at all. I didn't drink last night, but I woke up this morning with almost like a meat hangover. Like I just was like, like, like I just like felt like crap this morning.
Yeah, I didn't want to wake up for work this morning, but I never want to wake up for work because my first alarm goes off at like 3:30.
Oh dang, yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So today, I think there are a couple of segments planned. Because in addition to the big one that we want to do, there's also there's one thing I want to talk about really quick, and then and then we have like that thing that you suggested, and then there's another segment that I suggested like yesterday. So before we started recording for the day, I finally watched the second half of the last episode of Secret Invasion.
Oh, nice.
So I got to see the final battle that everybody's been talking about, and it doesn't destroy the show for me.
Yeah.
But it is pretty limp.
Right.
It's really blandly choreographed.
Mm.
And like it's a lot of it is built on a premise where it's like this is just the worst idea for a final battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like the segue into it, the lead up to it was actually really good in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like, do you care about spoilers?
No, I don't care.
All right, so like the two characters involved in like the final like battle of the show they're a pair of Skrulls who they've introduced the concept of super Skrulls in this series, and they both got like all of the powers.
Okay.
Like every power that's been introduced in the MCU so far, both of them got them.
And the final battle's them two fighting it out?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just, and the thing is, like, now initially that does sound like a bad idea right off straight away. To give your two characters every single power. But then on top of that, like, you think, okay, well, at least they could try to make the best of it by, like, creatively choreographing it, right?
Right.
If your two characters have every single superpower, like, it should be at the very least a fun fight. No, It was limply choreographed. The music was just kind of in the background, not really like. See, the music was noticeable for the fact that like it was dull and a little like weirdly quiet and not like blending in with the sequence.
Yeah. It wasn't like blasting in your face like
it's like
music should be.
Yeah, and like it didn't really like match the fight, so like it made the music stand out too much. And it gets you thinking about how like, oh, this music is like really blandly composed as well. Like it's just very generic, like superhero music. And then like the battle is mostly CGI, and it doesn't look good because like it's like especially when it comes to Emilia Clarke's character. She's very much just a floating head on a character model.
Right.
So it's like, it's very like unconvincing, poorly done CGI. Plus, like all of the powers are represented by like their arms shape shifting. So it's like, okay, what assets do we have like rendered?
Yeah.
Like what arms do we have on file for the CGI? Sense. This is basically what it looked like. Like, what's on our hard drive right now?
Yeah, you mentioning two characters fighting that have all the powers. Two characters that both have all the powers and they're fighting, and there's no like great choreography with this type of fight where it could be interesting. It just sounds like 6-year-olds playing with their toys.
Yeah,
essentially, it's like, well, this one is like Marvel God, basically. Yeah. And this one is like this, and then just mash them together. It's like
pretty much. And like, yeah, it's not very well done. So yeah, I agree with everybody's criticisms of the final battle. Again, I don't think it destroys the series or the MCU. A lot of people are like, you just got a character with every power running around the MCU. No. If it's a problem, they'll fix it. If it's a problem, they'll just say, it wore off or something like that. Turns out it was temporary. They can always do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like, yeah, like the final battle as its own piece, as its own scene, is just not good. It's just poorly done.
Yeah.
Like I said, the lead up to it was really fun and interesting. And it kind of catches you off guard a little bit when it happens. But but then when the actual fight starts taking place, it takes a hard dip.
Mm.
And let's see here. But yeah, like the series overall, I enjoyed it. I kind of like seeing a deeper, more personal side to Sam Jackson's interpretation of Nick Fury. I like the idea that it's kind of presented that like he was never really like this incredible spy who just always knew everything. It was his Skrull spy network that knew everything for him. So like I kind of like the idea that like he never actually had it all together.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of people are like, it removes the mystique of Nick Fury to do something like that. But I'm like, we already have like an all-knowing, unerring Nick Fury in the comics. It's okay to have a different interpretation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because like Nick Fury in the comics is like, he, there's never anything he doesn't know, and sometimes that gets a little annoying with some characters.
Yeah, I can get that.
Like it makes sense for Nick Fury because he's Nick Fury, but at the same time, it's like it's okay for there to be something you don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I like this interpretation from for the show that like, he really was just kind of benefiting from a long-term relationship with aliens. Yeah,
eventually, probably next couple months, I'm probably fixing to finally get Disney Plus again, at least for like 2 or 3 months, just so I can catch up on stuff. I can watch Secret Invasion, I can watch Echo, I can watch Loki season 2.
Yeah.
All that stuff, as well as like maybe possibly check out Andor, because I remember it getting a lot of good reviews and stuff. And like a big, in terms of Star Wars, ultimately I don't care hardly any, but I still do want to watch season 2 of Visions, Star Wars Visions.
Oh yeah, that I forgot that happened. I got to get around to that.
Yeah, I want to watch that because like my hyper excitement for that kind of like kicked back up because back in November, Peach Momoko, she's like a big Marvel artist now.
Yeah, I'm
okay, yeah. She did a whole issue like 2 years ago. The guy who did the Star Wars Ronin, the Visions Ronin episode,
he
did a one-shot comic
Yeah.
following that character, and I loved it. My complaint was with it was like, this doesn't feel like a one-shot. This feels like, hey, like, let's keep going. Like, this is issue 1.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. But so that was my complaint with that. And then Peach Momoko, a year later, drops her own one-shot, like a Star Wars Visions one-shot.
Yeah.
And I bought it on eBay recently because I remembered it. I remember being hyped for it back in October, and I completely forgot about it. I bought it on eBay, and it was good. It's different. It's very different. It's like it's not even like the Sith, really. It's like this cult that kind of uses the Sith Force in a way, and it's like
the dark side of the Force.
Yeah, and it's very like I'm trying to think of a good example. It's if anyone's heard of like David Cronenberg, it almost feels like a David Cronenberg type Star Wars thing, because there's all this like weird like
body horror
organic
stuff?
yeah like body horror type stuff. And what's also interesting, I didn't know this, it kind of threw me off at first. I was kind of not into it, but then I got into it. The whole issue is silent, meaning like no word balloons, no narration boxes, nothing. It's just all the art.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
That was interesting. It's not like amazing, but I was like, hey, this is different. I kind of like different. I ultimately thought the issue was decent. It was worth reading. The thing I love the most is at the very end, after I'm done, once it gets to the ad pages, in like a month or two from now, the guy who did Ronin is finally coming back, and he's going to continue doing it in comic book form.
Awesome.
So I don't pick up floppies from Marvel, Image, DC, none of that stuff. I'm probably going to be picking up that though, because I do like that a lot. But yeah, sorry, that just reminded me of that whole thing.
Yeah.
But
well, that's cool.
Oh, I do want to mention.
Yeah.
Or first, did you have any other stuff on Secret Invasion?
One quick thing. It has it has a couple of weird implications for Rhodey as a character. Because okay, full spoilers for people who might not have seen it yet. But in Secret Invasion, Rhodey, War Machine, has been replaced by a Skrull.
Okay.
And when the real one is freed at the end of the series, he's in a hospital gown and needs like to be supported while walking. Like someone needs to help him walk.
Okay.
Not that I think they would have put him in his little sleep machine with his leg frames on, but at the same time, that really heavily suggests that the Skrulls got him back in 2016. And if that's correct, he's been replaced by a Skrull for over a decade in Marvel time.
Okay, that's kind of interesting, at least like with me thinking about Iron Wars. Like,
Armor Wars.
I could see,
like,
or Armor Wars,
Also the fact that Rhodey wouldn't, if they did get him right after Civil War, the real Rhodey wouldn't know that Tony's dead.
Oh crap! Yeah, you're right.
He'd have to find out about his best friend's death after the fact, like years after the fact.
Was he like conscious this whole time?
No, they were all kept in like a coma that where like they were wired up to these like purple laser machines where they were strapped down, kept asleep, and then the purple lasers would consistently like scan their memories in case the Skrulls needed to scrub their brains for anything. Basically to make sure that whoever was replacing them always had detailed information of their memories.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how would the Skrulls know?
Right.
Like hyper detailed stuff about their lives to be convincing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Dang, you missed a lot.
Yeah, that means that like Rhodey missed the entire Infinity War.
Yeah.
And that means that like
Snap and everything.
the Rhodey we see in those movies, like that's a Skrull in that suit,
Mm-hmm.
carpet bombing Thanos's guys, and
Yeah, and that Rhodey doesn't he when the snap happened like turn to ash?
no, yeah, that like Rhodey was one of the ones who stuck around. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Dang.
the main team left over after the snap was the founding 6 Avengers plus Rhodey. Because I know he was a hero before the Avengers formed, but he's not one of the founding 6
Right.
in the movies. He joined later on. But
Yeah.
the founding 6 plus Rhodey plus Rocket and Nebula. And then because of Quantum Realm shenanigans, Ant-Man, and that's it. Those were the only survivors.
Okay. Dang. Yeah. I mean, like I know Secret Invasion is so for some people, but I kind of like that little bit because it, I don't know, gives me a little something to possibly look forward to in Armor Wars if they
If they choose
tackle
to
that at all. Yeah, exactly.
Plus, Martin Freeman's character Everett Ross, he was also under as like he was also replaced by a Skrull, and like they don't go into any details about what was going on with him when he was replaced. So like he could have been replaced right after Wakanda Forever, or
Yeah.
he could have been replaced right after Civil War as well.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of crazy implications for specific characters.
Yeah.
And I'm not going into every single Marvel thing looking for all the connections anymore. Like I know that's kind of what they've
Oh yeah.
but like at the same time it's like, yeah, the connections are fun and the connections are they deepen everything when they're there. But at this point I am here for each individual step of the journey.
Yeah, exactly. Same me as well. Like I'm more focused on the individual thing. If they add a little extra, that's fine.
Yeah.
My issue is with some of the movies, not all of them, but some of them, like it was too focused on like that building to the next thing.
Yeah.
But I like the individual thing. And when you do the little like tie-in type stuff or hey, this could lead into something else. If they do it to where it's not like
intrusive.
Yeah, intrusive or like convoluted is not the best word, but like it's like that. I don't know if that makes sense in terms of whenever that next movie or whatever comes out. It's like, oh, like based on what they talked about in the last movie, this doesn't entirely make sense. I'm not someone who like hounds about that because ultimately I'm focused on that one piece of media whenever it comes out. But I mean, if you're going to do that type of stuff, you better stay consistent with it and not mess up in terms of what you said in the previous movie and now what happens in this one or whatever.
Yeah. Other than that, I think those are all my thoughts all together on Secret Invasion. It was a pretty decent like spy thriller story. But yeah, outside of that, it's it was interesting. It was interesting to see what Nick Fury is like as a protagonist in the MCU.
Yeah.
In what will probably be this interpretation of the character's only leading role.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's definitely not a leading role, but he's got a good bit of screen time in the Marvels. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I expect that. I am probably gonna try to get around to watching the Marvels later today. Before I dive into Echo sometime in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the thing is, like, he's a character that's been around so often and in so many of these things that, he is a main character and he feels like he's been one of the main characters this whole time. But like you don't really think about the fact that Secret Invasion is the only one where he's the protagonist.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I honestly think, and I'm not like bashing Marvel, but I think in general, in terms of the masses and stuff, I think Marvel, not saying they can't go down further, but I think in terms of the general masses, I think they can only really go up from here. And I think the whole breaks that they're doing with the movies and stuff, I think that can help. So
yeah, well,
here's hoping.
I think it's really smart that specifically Deadpool and Wolverine is the only Marvel movie from Marvel Studios coming out this year.
Yeah.
Because like not only is that like the anticipated one, and everybody is looking at it to be like, oh, this is gonna be what makes or breaks it in the end. Like this is like, I feel like there is kind of a lot of pressure riding on Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think they can pull it off. I think they can do it.
I think they can pull it off, as well as like, it doesn't have to be amazing. I'm not saying like the past few Marvel movies aren't good or anything, but if you look at the mass audience, the past year of Marvel, aside from Guardians of the Galaxy, has been like, it was okay to it was bad in terms of people's thoughts on it. So this one could just be simply like, yeah, like this was a solid flick. This was good. And that would be great for Marvel.
Yeah.
If like the mass people were just like, yeah, this was entertaining. I liked it.
Yeah. And especially since like Bob Iger's been making a ton of comments about how like they're scaling things back to focus on quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And like which by the way, I might be misremembering this, but wasn't it his idea to go for like quantity over everything else to begin with?
Maybe, I don't know.
I feel like I can't remember which, because there have been two Bobs just alternating the CEO position between each other.
Yeah, because I was about to say, like,
2 years.
I can't remember if it was him or the other Bob that like dipped out, and then I think that's when all the quantity happened, and then dipped back in, and then said, "Hey, quality over quantity."
Yeah. It's one of the Bobs. It was either Iger or Chapek, who was
one of them.
Just like throw everything at the wall, announce things that aren't even remotely close to being ready yet, just to satisfy our shareholders. And then like, because that's a huge part of what's been leading to some problems too, is that like they just keep pushing all of their studios, from Marvel to Lucasfilm to Pixar to like the actual in-house animation team, to just push stuff through. And like, it's exactly those kinds of practices that led to things like the writers and actors strikes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like it's, there's just no like acceptable time being put into these movies. Like a lot of it is kind of rushed. I mean, like, yes, with like CGI, you can see that with modern day Marvel movies here and there. But I mean, beyond that, writers, and a lot of times when it comes to doing rewrites, they only have a very, very limited amount of time to do that rewrite before, hey, we've already scheduled when we start shooting, and it's like less than a month from now, and we don't even have the finished script done.
Yeah. Plus I've heard that they weren't having any writers on sets, which is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just a bad situation. And unfortunately, it's still going to take a while before we start feeling any of the good effects of the strikes. So there's going to be this period of like, post-strike, people are going to be like, oh, so glad we had those strikes so the writers can get paid more to keep giving us this crap. Because nobody who actually knows how any of this stuff works has a loud enough voice to comment on it. But anyway, that's a whole rabbit trail.
But also, like, those people don't realize that the true effects of the positive effects of the strike, you won't see that for over a year after the strike happens. Yeah, because
we're just now getting to probably the period that will be the negative effect of the strikes.
Yeah, which is going to be where, because this period is going to be where you're going to see stuff that has been shelved in terms of scripts or projects, stuff that has been shelved. And then they're like, crap, we got to put some stuff out. Let's dust this off the shelf and let's just put it out there because we got to have product out there. Yes, it's not great product. Yes, it's product that we shelved, but we got to have something out there until our good stuff that our writers are working on right now, that can come out after all this mediocre stuff.
Speaking of shelving things, I've got one piece of news that really annoys me.
The Coyote.
Yes. So I got this from the Weekly Planet. So I heard it from James and Meso themselves. But yeah, Coyote versus Acme is officially like getting deleted, apparently. Like they're straight up destroying the movie.
Yeah. I saw some articles about it.
Zaslav specifically got it in his head that they wanted $75 million for the rights to stream the movie. And Netflix and Paramount, and I think one other one, came to them with like really good offers that haven't been specified, but it wasn't $75 million. So Zaslav was like, no, this is like a take it or leave it deal. Like you give us $75 million or this movie goes away. So like,
yeah,
but like they're only getting like a $35 million tax write-off for destroying it. So like,
yeah, okay, so it costs them
sell the
$35
movie
million
for
to make.
$35 million. It'll be.
Or I mean, I get like I get that, but like just bump it up, sell it for $36 million. Hey, you made more than if you deleted it for the tax write-off. Like,
hell, it's possible Netflix and Paramount were offering them like $60 million.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, like the thing is, they probably like don't want the PR hit that would come if like the movie ends up being good.
Yeah,
because like if they let someone else show that movie and it's good, everybody's gonna look at Warner Brothers and be like, well, they were stupid for trying to shelve this in the first place.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think like,
but yes, the thing is, they already look stupid.
I was about to say, like, yes, you'll have people say like, oh, they look stupid for trying to shelve this in the first place. But you will have people, if it was good, be like, oh, like, I'm so glad they didn't shelve this. And yes, it's not on HBO Max, but I'm glad they at least put it out somehow.
Yeah. But
yeah,
no, like it's.
I feel like they could have easily made their money back. Yes, maybe not the $70 million that they were wanting, but like, yeah, like I feel like you could have come to a deal with a streaming service or multiple streaming services to where you would make, I would assume, at least $36 million to where it's one, more profitable to go that route, and two, you're also looking better in the public eye.
Yeah,
because that's another thing. Is like yes, let's say you do all this work in terms of the negotiations and putting it on the streaming services, and you only made a couple $1 million more. Now, to us, that's like big bucks. To them, it's a penny, basically.
Yeah.
But yes, you did extra work to make only a couple $1 million more. But it's also beneficial because you're getting good publicity. Yes, you're going to have some people that are like, can't believe they were going to shelve this thing if it was good or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're getting good publicity of people being like, finally, they don't shelve something. This was good. I'm glad they allowed this to be put out.
Because like, who's going to want to work with Warner Brothers now, knowing that literally any work you make can just be destroyed?
That's literally what I was thinking whenever I read the article the other day. And yeah, it just makes me think like, if people are going to work with Warner Brothers nowadays, like I would assume people would want, like creators, would want to have some part in their contract where it's like, you can't delete this, or like
really carefully worded contracts. Like,
where
if we make this, you have to release it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So You see, that's a position that can be replaced by AI, CEO. At least an AI would be able to figure out what people want.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's wild. Because I did like the premise. It's not like I was like dying to see the movie. I did like the premise though. The premise alone made me think this could be good.
Yeah, and like
that's Wild Coyote. He comes into the real world and he wants to sue Acme. That's an interesting premise. I like that.
And it's like there aren't enough like Roger Rabbit style movies like that anymore.
Yeah.
The last halfway decent one I can think of was the Chip and Dale one. It's more than halfway decent. That one was actually pretty solid.
And also, I know it's a hybrid of animation and real world, but for modern movies, especially modern animated movies, 35 million isn't a lot. Like I would almost get them canning it and shelving it if it was like $70 million or $100 million, and they looked at it and was like, I got a feeling we're not going to make that amount of money, so let's just can it. But 35 million isn't that bad to where it's like what we were saying at the beginning. I feel like you can at least make $36 million.
Yeah, like John Cena was in that movie. Like, how much was his paycheck? Probably really close to what they're getting on the tax write-off anyway.
Yeah, for real.
I know John Cena isn't like a well, I don't. He's pretty popular, but I don't think John Cena is as much as like a $30 million like paycheck.
Yeah, no.
He might be. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what John Cena's like standard paycheck for a movie is like. But I can imagine it's up there.
Yeah. I was about to say, I'm sure it was like of that 35 million, it was probably at least 10 to 20% of the budget. If he has like at least 30 minutes worth of screen time in the movie. But yeah, like, I don't know. Hopefully Warner Brothers, I don't know. Because my big issue isn't entirely with this movie. It's more, the creator side of things. Where
it's in general. It's in like this movie was because you're right. It's not really about Coyote versus Acme specifically. This movie just kind of became a battleground.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like this is the one where everybody's like, okay, like make good decisions, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not Warner Brothers, but like Zaslav specifically, like make good decisions. And he's like, I'm not paid to make good decisions. I'm paid to make decisions that get me paid.
Because my big issue is just like the creator side. Like that would suck so bad, especially if it's like, I'm not saying you're the director or whatever, but let's say you have a decent role in the movie behind the scenes or whatever. And this was kind of not saying your big break, but it's like, oh, this is like my first big Hollywood thing.
Yeah.
And then like it's deleted. It's gone. Like that would suck so bad. Like I'm not saying like we are these people, but like put myself or yourself in that position of like, oh, like this is it. Like this is that big step. And then like you also, it's not just the big step thing. Like you invested time and you believed in the project.
And also
you believed in what you were doing, and then it's gone.
I also just realized it also does kind of save Warner Brothers a lot on royalty checks.
Yeah. It's so
just
dumb.
Really crappy.
Yeah. I don't know.
We need to get Sam Wilson, Captain America, into a boardroom to tell them you need to do better. Do better. You need to do better.
Yeah, and then they'll nod. They'll be, yes.
Yeah.
Why haven't we heard this before? This is all we needed to hear.
Because it was on a Disney platform, and you are contractually prohibited from consuming competitors' products.
Yeah. Even though
That's
should be
because we're a
okay
bunch of
to.
lizard people and we don't consume entertainment to begin with. So
Yeah, I was about to say it should be okay for you to do that so that you can see what the competitor is doing so that you can then better compete.
no.
But
You think any of these people watch TV or behave like human beings? They're too
no.
busy snorting cocaine and going to Epstein's Island.
Now here's yeah. Here's the thing. This is going back to Marvel real quick. I saw and I'm so on the last bit of this video that I saw. But Eris Keown he has a TikTok
Yeah.
and I don't
they all?
but it do what?
I said, don't they all?
Yeah, exactly. But he has a TikTok and I don't follow him, but the video popped up just as like a recommended thing. And I watched it and I have some feelings on this first part. The last part, I do think he's rage baiting a little bit.
Yeah.
But the first part of it, I do think is an interesting thing because it's not really him talking. He's just showing footage. And the footage is interviews of like Marvel movies the past 3 or 4 years. And it's the writers and directors and it's snippets of their interviews. And a lot of them, most of them, basically the gist is like, oh no, like I didn't read the comics or anything like that. I didn't look at any type of source material or anything like that.
Yeah.
I get two sides of it. I get the side of like you don't entirely want to be pigeonholed or feel like you're making a lesser version of the thing you just read or whatever. I kind of get that. I do have a big issue with the whole thing of like, you're not going to look at any source material to like just bounce ideas off of. You don't even have to use them, but like, you're not going to look at any of it. That frustrated me a little bit. And then the rest of his video, I didn't really care for because it was kind of rage baiting, but that beginning, it did make me think a little bit. It's like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like in a lot of ways we're going back to the days when of like the set of the first X-Men movie where Bryan Singer prohibited any of the actors from reading X-Men comics.
Yeah.
And Hugh Jackman just wanted reference material.
Yeah.
That's all he wanted. He wasn't turning into a nerd. He wasn't trying to get into comic books. He just wanted to know what his character was about, man. That's all he wanted.
And the thing is, you don't have to do beat for beat of the comic. You don't have to do beat for beat the character in the comic, but at least like it's something to bounce off of. It's reference. It's not doing a beat for beat adaptation. It's simply reference. You're referencing possibilities of your character. You're referencing possibilities of how the movie should look, various things.
Yeah. Oh God. Sorry.
You're good.
But yeah, like I remember back in like 2018 or whenever it was, like Brie Larson was posting stuff on her social media of how she was sitting down and reading Captain Marvel comics to like use like to study up on her character.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know how much of that was them actually doing that and how much of it was just social media
right.
Like marketing. But still, like they at least tried to present the air that they were, drawing on source material. And honestly, as a fan of the source material, I can say, they did a pretty decent job of emulating it, condensing it in a way that like wasn't overwhelming for someone who didn't literally grow up on these comic books.
Right. And not even in a actor stance. I'm now thinking about like director and cinematography and how the thing should look kind of. I'm trying to imagine you're making a Doctor Strange movie, and if you don't look at the source material, what the hell is that going to look like if you don't look at the source material? Because the reason I mentioned that, I'm not saying the first Doctor Strange movie is amazing, but I think it is good. And I think like
it's real solid.
Clearly they looked back at the old Doctor Strange comics. Yeah. Because you can see those elements where it goes trippy and far out.
Yeah.
like those old Doctor Strange comics.
Yeah, you can tell when they like were drawing on like the classic like trippy Ditko artwork.
Yeah.
And like that's one thing that I really liked about Multiverse of Madness too, is how weird it was willing to get with the magic in a lot of ways.
Right. But
because I think the first Doctor Strange was more creative in its visuals. But the second Doctor Strange was more creative in like what it did.
Right.
Because all the magic in the first Doctor Strange is very samey, very like go to the mirror dimension, whip lashes of cinders and ash at each other, or like invisible glass blades or whatever, and like do a lot of martial arts, but like not a lot of like what people would think of as magic. Right. But then like, you know, Multiverse of Madness is like literally whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Just
the first Doctor Strange
right now.
Yeah, the first Doctor Strange, you see like that Ditko art style inspiration in terms of like whenever they're going to different realms and stuff, like whenever he's being pushed into these various like trippy realms, you see that. But I do agree with you that like when they're actually using magic, it feels very tame. Whereas, like you said, Multiverse of Madness, the magic use is kind of all over the place, but that feels like a Doctor Strange comic. Like that feels like good. Not saying that in a bad way, that it's all over the place.
Yeah, like in a good wizard battle, and I've always thought about this, and this is like because I have an equal amount of disappointment in like Harry Potter for its lack of creativity and a lot of magic stuff, but like in a good magic battle where both of the characters, or however many characters are involved, where everybody involved knows like enough magic to just kind of like be ready for anything.
Yeah.
The answer to what is happening right now should just be yes.
Right. Yeah.
If someone asks what's going on, you say uh-huh. That's how a good magic battle should play out. No one should ever actually know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like, I know what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I just hope it works.